she came in and I just told her, I said, listen, I'm gonna put it up for sale. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not gonna come down on my price. I don't need to move. But if I can take advantage of this ridiculous market and get out of this stupid place that I stay in, this hood, I will. And I got out. And I'll tell you a little bit about it in just a minute. But what made me just say, hey, I got to do something. I got to record now. I cannot let this go any further. I got to record now. Is when I moved to a better area. I'm in a small little apartment, but it's a great quiet place. I can hear it. The windows are terrible. The walls are thin, but it's way more peace than I ever had where I was at. And what triggered and said, hey, I have to record. And I know I went to 12 minutes of just fluff, but I'm trying to set this up so you can understand this. I rode through the parking lot, and this was sitting in the parking lot. I've been here for about a month and a half, going on almost 2 months, and never ever saw a piece of trash sitting in the parking lot of my complex. Not one time. And it was so because of that, it stuck out like a sore thumb. I slowed my car down. And I picked up the trash and I said, I'm going to come in and we're going to do this here. We're going to talk about this. And the hood, my 2 years in the hood. And I have some notes here. So if you see me looking at my screen, it's because I'm looking at the notes here. Looking down, not looking at the camera. The hood, y'all, is a dirty, dirty, dirty place. It's a dirty place. Trash is trashy, and people actively throw trash out of the window and onto the ground as they walk or as they drive by. It is nothing. It is normal to see someone driving by, open their window out and take whatever Wendy's bag, Hardee's bag, or whatever, and just toss it right out the window onto the ground. And nobody thinks anything of it. Though, and see, when you do that, you wonder why the law enforcement treats people in those areas the way they treat them. And why people from the suburbs will come over to these areas and clown, turn their music up, go crazy. But then when they leave that area, they turn their music down and they straighten their act up. Because people in the hood live dirty and live filthy. And they do not care about their living situation, their home, and their life. It's almost like this. You go into someone's home, and if that home is pristine, if that home is clean, you act accordingly. Unless you have some mental issues and you've been really just, you really have some deep rooted attitudes and habits and different things like that. But for the most part, you sit up a little bit straighter. You make sure that you clean up after yourself. If you have a cup, you make sure you look for a coaster to put it down. You just clean it. You just act a little bit different because the environment instructs you to. It says, hey, you are in a clean environment, so therefore you have to practice clean habits. But if you go into a home and it's filthy and it's dirty and it's clothes all over the place and it's dishes on a table and in a sink, you don't care where you put your cup. You don't take off your shoes. You'll sit anywhere. You'll sit on the arm of the couch or the chair. You don't care that. You don't care about how you interact in that home because the home is filthy. It does not require. It's not asking you to operate at a higher manner or with better manners. It's kind of telling you, I don't care about this environment, so you don't have to care either. And that's why it's so important to keep a clean home and keep a clean car. Like if you get into somebody's car and there's clothes thrown over here and there's junk thrown over here and there's a old fast food cups in a cup holder and different things like that, you don't really care about what how you act in that car. But if you get in that car and that car is extra crispy clean, you will act clean, or you will watch how you sit in that car and how you ride in that car. And that's the hood. Because the hood doesn't care. People who come and interact with that hood do not care. And so we say it's racism. And we only say that because mostly black folks inhabit and make up the hood. So we say, oh, they're racist. No, they're not racist. They're just interacting with the environment because it's telling them that they only have to interact in a certain way. Yeah, people are afraid. Yeah, I will be afraid. I'm more safe if I were to go into. I'll give you a little story here, and then we'll get to the other part here of it. I went one time. My older brother took me to a home right in the heart of Detroit, and I could see the General Motors headquarters building, the original General Motors here. I mean, it was so close to this neighborhood that it just lit up the neighborhood. It was so close, but it was the hood. It was dirty. It was nasty. The porch was all broken down. You went in there and there was just people just laying and sitting everywhere, and there was porn on the television. And it was I was afraid. I was afraid to be there because it was so filthy. It was so nasty. It was so dirty. I was like, this is an anything goes type of environment. And that's what the hood is. A anything goes type of environment. And my dumb behind bought a home right in the midst of that environment. Not rented one. See, if I rented one, then I know I can break that lease and get out of it at any time, really, based on how much money I want to pay. But when you buy, you there. Unless something happens and unless something happens and you can get yourself out of that situation. Just want to make sure, yeah, all right. Hopefully that quiets that down. And 2020 was the year. And so what else happens in the hood? What other filthy things happen? People they walk by and drive by trash. I'm not talking about just people who not even from the neighborhood. I'm talking about people who actually live in their home will see trash in their driveway, on their lawn, and walk right past it and never go pick it up. I used to spend days coming. You spend about 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes when I'll come home from work and walk around and pick up trash on the middle of my street in front of my house, in both of my neighbors' yards, picking the stuff up. Sometimes I will go across the street and pick up trash out of the other neighbor's yard across the street. And not one time did I see anybody do what I did. There was a time where one of the people at the corner got evicted. And when you get evicted, they take all of your crap and they just throw it in the front, on the front curb. And Starla had started a business out of the home. And I didn't want people to come by and have to drive by and see that. Because not only does it reflect bad on that home, it reflects bad on the entire street and any other houses around it. And so I took a box of hefty trash bags, my gloves, and I spent hours over there cleaning up someone else's home. Just so it won't reflect bad on my home. And I didn't have to look out there and see that and become depressed, because that's what happens when you see filth. You become depressed. It brings down your spirit. It brings down your countenance. And again, they want to blame it on racism, but that's you. You can clean up your own stuff. You can clean up your own car. You can mow your grass. You can make sure that that when you can get you can get out of your car when you come home from work. Go in the lawn and make sure you pick out all the trash and put it right there in the trash can before you go in the house. And it doesn't take that long. But these people will walk by it. And then when the trash day will come, the trash will go out. There was a neighbor that was across the street. They had like 5 or 6 trash cans that they will fill up. And then after the trash came, they will leave that trash can out, those trash cans out there. Sometimes for 3 days, sometimes all the way until the next trash day a week later. And that's the hood. And you want to blame that on racism? You want to blame that on a white man? That's you. That ain't nobody else, that's you. These are your habits. This is how you like to live. We'll clean our Jordans. We'll have one Gucci belt hanging up in our closet, or a Louis Vuitton bag that you took one of your income tax checks and bought. But I walk past all of that trash and filth. And my next door neighbors, they were horrible. My other neighbor, he was great. He was our friend. He was kind of like an uncle to us. He was excellent. We miss him. But the other neighbors, they would just sit there and I would just watch them. Just walk past trash, throw trash down. Their trash sometimes would blow into our yard. I had to put up a fence at one time because what was happening was every so often I would see like a beer bottle or a beer can or a Hennessy bottle, one of the small pint Hennessy, not a real big Hennessy. Broke people, they're going to get a little pint, little bitty half pint of Hennessy in our yard. And I'm like, how did this get there? Because these people would sit there and just throw it. And this is the hood. It was terrible. It was depressing. And I had to deal with it. And I tried America, world, I tried all I could to just show a different way of living. This show that I cared, and hopefully that it will become contagious. And people would just watch you do, and they wouldn't give a good god darn. They would just say, hell with it. It's more important that I have some sounds in my car, that my car is clean, than my house is clean. It's more important that my car is clean than my grass is cut. In 2.5 years, there was a fat man who lived next door to me. And in 2.5 years, he never, ever cut his grass. It was always either his sons or his wife. And that's the hood, y'all. Filthy and dirty. You have to do better. We have to do better. And it doesn't take a lot. It just takes caring about who you are and what you represent. And if we change that attitude, the police will be less likely to come in shooting, grabbing us, disrespecting us, because we're communicating that we don't respect ourselves, so no one else have to respect us. And I'm telling the truth. Black Ortiz out. Till next time.